is going to be another fun one. I remember I was literally cold and I was shivering. The pain was just intense. She did the check, like the check with her hands. Yeah, they go in. Yeah, I remember she was casually like, oh no, it's too late to have your epidural. And I'm like, it's a guinea. You said that what? I felt helpless at that time. The head was already out. It was literally just hooked there. And the pain that came with it was like, imagine mixing atarodo, chili pepper, and menthol, adding a little bit of heat, a sprinkle of fire, just fire on the tip, and then rubbing that on the V. Giving birth is a mind game. I remember pushing like nothing else matters. This baby has to come out. Alright, so hey loves, and welcome back to the channel again. This is going to be another fun one. Now this video is one that I've been finding kind of interesting of late because I keep telling this story over and over again to people, and I figured, you know, why not just sit down and have like a chit-chatty story time session with you guys. I have my glass of wine. This is just red grape, nothing alcohol included. So yeah, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys my natural unmedicated birth delivery experience, guys. Whew, like, okay, where do I even begin? Now I just want to start by saying that this video is going to be a little bit sensitive because I'm going to be sharing probably a lot of information. So if you're not interested, feel free to click out. If you are interested, definitely feel free to continue watching. Again, I do have a detailed birth vlog. I can't believe I put it out, but I put it out. I'll leave it linked somewhere here so you guys can check it out in case you guys haven't yet. So this video is feeding from that. I'm just kind of going to be expressing myself because I feel like during the birthing process there was I couldn't really express myself when it came to like words and what was going on because it was so intense. One more. So now I'm just going to be walking you guys through the process, exactly what happened, you know, sharing with you guys the story behind my delivery experience. So yeah, if you are interested, stick around with me and let's go right into this video. I want to get as comfortable as possible because I feel like this is going to be a long one, but I'll try to limit this to maybe like at least 30 minutes, 20 minutes maximum. So yeah, where do I start from? First of all, I had an all-natural, unmedicated vaginal delivery. It wasn't that was not the plan initially, but that was what I ended up having. My process was so beautiful. I thank God for that. If you guys haven't watched the video, definitely feel free to watch it here. I feel like that video is probably the most informative and educative video when it comes to like giving birth naturally through the V. And I say that because I had the most amazing midwife that literally, like, I want to say held me throughout the entire process, not even from the delivery, like from the pre-delivery itself. She made me feel so calm, so serene, and it just made the entire process a lot easy because I used to dread, like, the thought of giving birth was one of like the most scary, like there was the most scary thought I had initially in my head because, you know, you watch a lot of movies, videos, and you see people like going crazy, screaming, the pain, the agony, the stress. And I wouldn't even be, let me not lie, it was its own experience. The experience was transformational because no one can explain what you go through during that process. You can't really explain it. You just have to go through it and then be like, yeah, I went through it. But it was amazing. Initially I opted for epidural, but unfortunately I wasn't able to have it because of how quick my delivery was, sort of. So where do I begin? Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to have like a vaginal birth. However, I wanted some sort of like a pain relief, and epidural seemed to be the I don't want to say the easiest, but the most sought out for. So that was my plan A, and my plan B was to just do it naturally, right? So on the day that it started happening, I remember I was watching a series. I was watching Chicago Fire, because I started all over again. I started watching the series all over again, and I had slept off for about 30 minutes. So I slept off for about like maybe 11 p.m. And then I started having like a little bit of cramps. Now, I would call this at this point, because this was the first stage of cramps I started having. This is sort of like the period cramp people talk about. It was mild, but it was still a bit intense. It was more intense than my average period cramp. And I felt very uncomfortable while sleeping. And I woke up at a point and I realized that something was going on, right? Now, at that point, I felt like a little bit of pressure and like an urge to poo, like go to the toilet. I remember for some funny reasons, I was literally cold and I was shivering. Like I was shivering, like I was shaking. I was literally shaking. The room was warm, it wasn't cold, but I was shaking. And at that point, I knew that something was wrong. So I kind of knew the entire process. I had an idea, because they would tell you and kind of inform you, educate you, when it starts, this would happen, expect this, blah blah blah, and all that. So in my mind, I already brought out my phone, because I had an app that I downloaded and I was going to use for my contractions, for tracking my contractions. And I immediately put it on and I started like tracking it. So at that point, I went to the toilet because I felt like I needed to poo. I went to the toilet and nothing happened. Obviously, I didn't need to poo. It was just the contractions. After that, I stayed for about maybe 5 minutes. I had another one again, and I knew that okay, it's coming and it's coming. It's not going away. Yeah, at that point, I didn't want to kind of get anyone scared or nervous or like alert. I was even contemplating on whether to call my husband, because he wasn't with me at that time, and he's so sensitive to things like this that he starts to freak out. So I remember I picked up the phone. I went back to the room. I picked up the phone and I'm like, guy, I'm feeling some sort of way. I think my contractions have started. I'm not sure, but I'm timing it to see if it's going to be very consistent. And at the same time, while I was saying that, I was literally shaking. Like, not shaking because I was nervous, but shaking because for some funny reasons, my body was shaking. Like, my body was cold and I was literally shaking. I had to cover myself. I still covered myself and I was shaking. So I put out my phone and I timed this for the next 1 hour. I didn't want to tell anyone. I just told my husband, I'm like, you know what, let's just wait and see, because it just started, right? So I timed this for another 1 hour, and I realized that it was very consistent. It kept on coming like every 6 7 minutes thereabout, and I'm like, wow. After the hour passed, I called my husband's cousin, and I'm like, you know what, I think this is happening. I think we're in labor and all that. Now, when you're in labor, three things can happen. Three signs you can have three signs. It's either you're having your contractions, it's either you have a bloody show, which is like basically blood, not too much blood, by the way. It's like, what's it called? Your mucus plug comes out, or you have your water break. Now, I didn't have my water break. That's a story that I'll talk about. Continue. If you watched my video, if you watched the vlog, then you obviously know what happened. My water didn't break. I only started having contractions. I didn't see any blood at that time. So we called the midwife, and she kind of like asked me some questions. Has my water broken? Have I seen any blood? How consistent are they? Can I talk through my contractions? And at that time, I could talk through my contractions. So it kind of wasn't so serious, even though it was serious and painful. So I could still talk through my contractions. And yeah, they told me to wait a bit, wait it out, time it obviously, to see if it's like within like a 5 minutes range. If I keep having it every 5 minutes for a minimum or for a duration of 1 minute, and if I have that consistently for 1 hour, I need to call the hospital. I need to call the midwife, sorry. So I kind of like, I had to endure the pain till about 6 7 a.m. So as at 6 a.m, I couldn't sleep all through. By the way, I didn't sleep all through that night. I tried sleeping for like 1 minute, but like the pain was just intense. You can't even sleep. I don't know how possible it is to sleep, except they give you something like a medication or something. But I couldn't sleep. So about 6 a.m, I was so uncomfortable. I decided to have like a hot water bath, right? So I went to have my bath. I went to have my shower, and I did that for about 30 minutes, right? So I was under the shower for about 30 minutes trying to relieve the pain. That didn't help. I mean, I think it's supposed to help, but like I still felt the pain, but maybe it was less intense, but it was just there. So when I was done having my bath, at that point I wanted to use the toilet, and I had seen the, what's it called, the mucus plug, right? The little bit of like a bloody show. So at that point, I knew that, well, this is the real deal. I knew that, like, I obviously I knew even before that, but when I saw that, it was more or less like a validation, like, this is real. Start packing your things and start getting ready. And you know what? Call the midwife again, because now the blood is out. And when I tell you that, as at 7 a.m, the contractions I were having, I couldn't talk through them. So all the questions she had asked me, I started seeing them as time went on, right? So I couldn't talk through my contractions. I saw the blood, and I called. So I had to wait it out till about 8. So she came around 8, to check me out, to see if I was, how far I had gone, to see if it was time to go to the hospital, to check me, see if the baby was in like a good position, like the head down position, to see if I was okay as well. So she did the check, like the check with her hands. Yeah, they go in, yeah, and they kind of measure. I don't know how they do it, but like they measure it. It wasn't painful. It's just uncomfortable, the fact that someone is doing that, but it wasn't painful. So she did that, and at that point she casually just said, oh, like, you're 6 centimeters or 7 centimeters, 6 to 7 centimeters dilated. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, who? Like, what? And at that point, I'm like, no, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that explains a lot. It explains a lot, because what I was feeling, the pain I was feeling, it wasn't like your 1 centimeter dilation. It was intense. I was like, okay, fine, can we start going to the hospital so I can get my epidural, so I can, like, the pain can relieve? Because at that time, the only thing I was thinking of is like, how do I switch off this pain? So experiencing that was, it was mind blowing. It was literally, it was a lot. I remember she was casually like, oh no, it's too late to have your epidural. Like, I'm already far gone off. And I'm like, Isegini, you said that what? It felt like somebody had torn my heart into pieces, but I felt helpless at that time. I remember her reassuring me like, oh, you've gone through it so far that you would be able to do it, like, coming, like, when it gets to that point, like, I'll be strong enough to bear the pain, since I've been doing it for like the past couple of hours. And I can't even explain how I felt, but it was more or less like a little bit of fear, but also a little bit of excitement and a little bit of like, let's do this right now. So we went to the hospital and we got situated. I had to change. She was nice enough to let me film everything. She was also nice enough to be intentional about what I filmed, because she was always trying to make sure that I was getting the perfect angle, like I was seeing the things. She was also educating me of the placenta, the umbilical cord, like what this is about, what that is about, making sure that I actually documented. And I'm so grateful for that, because something I told myself I wanted to do during my pregnancy was to record like the delivery process. So I changed what I was wearing into something more comfortable for delivery. And at that time, my water hadn't broken yet. So we spoke about breaking my water at the hospital because my water hadn't broken yet. And that was the last thing for my delivery to facilitate. And I remember her saying that once the water breaks, like my delivery process is going to go like so quick, because now it's going to start pushing, the hair is going to start pushing and coming down, that if I wanted to like speed up the entire process, I would have to break my water. So we got to the hospital, got situated, got comfortable. I laid in bed, and yeah, I was ready. Yeah. So the breaking of the water, I don't know if I should call it that. The breaking of the water was not painful. It was just almost the same thing as checking how far gone you are when it comes to like how dilated you are, how many centimeters, right? So she put like a hook in between her two fingers, right? In between her two fingers. I don't know why I didn't record that, but I'm sure like my contractions would have distracted me. But she put like a hook. I'm gonna look for a picture and show you guys. She put like a hook in between her two fingers, and she waited for my next contraction, right? So when the contraction came, she went in and literally used that hook to like rip open the sac. Now I didn't feel anything. I just felt like obviously something is going on there, because her fingers are her fingers are in. But I didn't feel any pain. But like a second later, I remember when she did that, I felt like a lot of fluid coming out, and it was so hot. I don't know, it wasn't hot, it was like so warm. And yeah, it was kind of cool to think that like the water inside the sac, the amniotic oh Jesus Christ, the water inside the sac is warm, and it's kind of on the hot side, so that's where the baby lives. It's so cool, like it's warm water. And when that happened, my water was a lot, according to her. It was a lot. It kept on gushing out, and it kept on gushing out for a couple of minutes. Now when it finished, like the pains that came with the contractions went from like level 50 to like level 70. It just went up and it escalated. I really wasn't ready for it. So she did that at about 9:30 a.m. in the morning. So between 9:30 and about 11 o'clock, I went from being 7 centimeters dilated to about 10 centimeters dilated. So it took me roughly an hour to get to that point. So I remember when I was about 9, I can't even read. When I got to 9 centimeters, I started feeling an urge. And you know when they say, when you watch movies, yeah, and you see like the nurse telling the lady or the woman that is giving birth to push, 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 push. Like nobody would tell you to push. Your body is expelling something. There's so much pressure coming down. I don't know how to explain it. Like there's so much pressure coming down out of you. You just feel like there's an urge. You have an urge to push. You can't even hold yourself or stop yourself from not pushing. You can't stop yourself. When that contraction comes in, you can't stop yourself from not pushing. It's so hard because it's like a natural thing, and God is just amazing because how everything happens beautifully is literally so amazing. So I started feeling like something was coming out with a lot of force and pressure. And let me tell you, this was by far the easiest part for me. The pushing part was so easy because now I could react to what I was going through. So typically when you're having contractions, they'll tell you that you should kind of free yourself, let it go, don't clench your fist, just endure the process, relax your body, relax your muscles, just feel free, don't hold on tight. Yeah, because by holding on tight, you're kind of prolonging your delivery time, right? So let it just flow, let it come out, don't hold it back, just release the good, what's it called, is it oxytocin? To me, giving birth is a mind game. It's a thing of the mind. If you program your mind to endure and have like positive thoughts, and you can control your whole body with your mind, you can program your mind to tell your body to relax. And that was what I kept on doing. See, that was the hardest, most difficult mind game I've ever played in my life, because I had to I don't know, like I couldn't imagine being in so much pain and you can't really express yourself the way you would want to because you're trying to be intentional with how you manage the pain. And that was exactly what was going on. And yeah, so basically that's it. Yeah. So when it got to about 11 a.m., I was on the side initially. I didn't record that, but I was on the side initially because she told me to be on my side, so I'll be more comfortable. And that was when I started pushing. But I wasn't pushing to push out the baby. I was just pushing because I felt the urge to push. So those were like my early stage of pushing. So I was pushing on the side and all and all. And then when she finally checked me and she saw that I was fully dilated and I was ready and it was ready, my baby was ready to come out basically. I went back on my back and she started getting ready. So she wore her gloves, her apron, everything, called another nurse, and it was a fun experience. So pushing for me is, I want to say, the easy part, right? It's the easy part because you feel the contractions. It is freaking intense. It is so intense. I can't even explain how. Whew, like I say this sometimes when I think about it, I have like PTSD. Like it's so intense. What the good thing about it is that you can now react to how you're feeling, and you can react to the pain as opposed to holding it in and trying to be calm. Now you can scream and push and react to it. So that was when the pushing started. I think my delivery process was about maybe 30 minutes, about 30 minutes. No, it was about 20 minutes ish. So it didn't last for a long time. I remember initially I kept on asking a lot of questions like, how long is this gonna take? And she was like, oh, it would take like maybe 12 contractions. It typically takes new moms, first moms, about 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes to push, right? But it took me 20 minutes. And I remember she was like, are you always this efficient with everything? Like it took me less than 30 minutes to push out my baby. And I'm super proud of myself and I'm thankful to God. But yeah, so I pushed and I remember pushing like nothing else matters. This baby has to come out. So I'm literally using all my energy. At the point, I thought I even lost my voice. I used all my energy to push, and I was doing it. And I never wanted to be in a situation whereby I would feel like I couldn't do it anymore because that would only prolong the entire process. So I kept on trying my best, doing. I never had a thought of even giving up. That was never an option for me, or resting. Nope, 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 nope. I wanted it out ASAP. I wanted the pain to end as soon as possible. So I did the pushing and the pushing and the pushing, and then I think I only pushed for like maybe I had like 5 contractions maximum. So I pushed, guys. When the baby is coming out, I don't know if you've watched Transformer. You've seen how the car changes into a robot and then changes back. That's how my body felt. I feel like my body was literally transforming physically. Not saying it felt like my bones were shifting. And she did say something about, like, obviously my backbone, because my backbone was, so the baby was coming down. Obviously there's a lot of like shifting going on. And the pain was literally like my body was breaking from within, right? So I remember she was literally massaging my back. I was just like, it was too much. Forget the fact that I'm smiling now. It was literally too much. Let me just have a glass of this. So it was too much. And I pushed and I pushed and then I pushed some more. And then the baby's head started crowning. Listen, I need to adjust myself to explain this part. Listen. I want to say this is the worst experience for me anyways, because the head was already out, right? So I was like 95% done with my delivery process. It was literally just hooked there. And they call this, you can call this crowning, you can call this the ring of fire. This was the most painful for me, and the pain that came with it was like, imagine mixing atarodo, chili pepper. Let me use that. Imagine mixing chili pepper with rub. How can I explain rub in a global way? Menthol, right? Mixing that together and adding a little bit of heat, right? Mix it together. Then a sprinkle of fire, just fire on the tip, and then rubbing that on the V. That was how it felt. It was just, it was painful, right? It was burning. It was like fire was there, fire and pepper, basically. It was burning. And I vividly remember having to endure it, because at that time you want to push it out, but they tell you not to. If not, it would cause a lot of damage with down there. So you have to literally just sit back, relax, endure the pain, and wait for the next contraction. And I remember trying to do that, and then I realized that, oh, this thing is beyond what I can control. And at a point, I asked my midwife, like, is it possible to push him back inside, because this pain, I can't take it anymore? And she was like, no. So I had to endure for another minute or 2 or 3, and then after experiencing that much pain, I knew that the next contraction, that baby must come out, because there's no way that baby is going to be stuck again for another contraction, and I'll have to experience that pain, So the next one came, and I pushed, but then I pushed a little bit till the head came out. His head came out, and they told me to stop pushing, so I had to stop pushing so that it won't cause like further damage and all that. She used her hand to kind of turn the baby and gently, like, she brought out the baby. by herself with her hands, which was amazing. And after the head came out, let me tell you, I felt no pain anymore. I feel like maybe it was numb there or something must have happened, but I didn't feel any pain when they were bringing out the rest of the body. And it just goes to show how, I don't know, how amazing God really is. So the baby came out, he was amazing, he was healthy, he was crying, they put him on me. I was feeling a little bit emotional. I spent a little bit of time with him. I cut the umbilical cord. I was so excited to cut it. I cut the umbilical cord. He looked so beautiful. He looked so small. He weighed 3 kg. Immediately, they cleaned him up a little bit, and then I spent about maybe 5 minutes with him. And then I had another contraction again. So the midwife said the placenta was ready to come out since I started having contractions. So she checked, and then asked me to push again when I had the next contraction. Like I wasn't tired of pushing, So after the next contraction, we pushed again, and the placenta came out. I don't know how a baby and a placenta was inside my stomach the whole time. I was looking at my baby when he came, and I'm like, how was this inside of me? It was huge. I'll check here in case you guys haven't watched it. Placenta was huge. It was meaty. And I'm like, how was this literally inside of me? I mean, everything is still surreal and a little bit crazy, but amazing at the same time. So I delivered the placenta, and after the delivery, they tell you that you don't feel any pain anymore. It's like when the baby comes, all the pain goes away like this. It's a lie. It's a lie. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but it's a lie. It's a big lie, because I was still feeling a little bit of pain down there. I didn't have contractions anymore. Like, my contraction pains had gone, disappeared, vanished. I was back to normal. I just felt a lot of pain down there, and it was so uncomfortable and so painful. I couldn't take any pain medication apparently, because I was going to be breastfeeding. That's what I opted for. However, I did take some paracetamol, because that was like the safest option for me that was recommended. So I got some stitches. Initially the midwife said I had like a 1st-degree tear, and then when she went in to kind of look, like, do some stitching and stuff, she was like, it's between like a 1 to 2. Now let me tell you, the delivery was easy breezy. The hardest part was recovery. I feel like a lot of people talk about delivery, pregnancy. No one really talks about recovery. Recovery is another story on its own. It's another video on its own. It's another experience on its own. It is painful. It is uncomfortable. It is sore. It is sensitive. It is demanding, because now you have a newborn baby that needs your attention, love, care, needs you for like the whole 24 hours, because you have to be up every single 2 hours, to feed him or her, change him as well, make sure he's okay. Because I remember after giving birth, the baby slept like almost throughout the entire 24 hours. He slept through the entire day. And I remember, like, he wasn't disturbing, but I was the one disturbing myself, because I kept on looking at him like, are you alive? Are you okay? Are you breathing? Because he was so tiny, and he was sleeping. He wasn't even moving. He was just sleeping, having the time of his life sleeping. And he slept for hours. So I'll just be looking like, are you okay? Are you breathing? Are you okay? Like, are you all right? So that recovery process is, for me, I want to say it's even harder than the delivery process, because delivery could last for hours to maybe a day or two, but that recovery process, it lasts for days, sometimes even weeks. You know, you can't use the toilet properly. You have to be careful because it's sensitive down there. You probably can't even walk properly. It's a lot, to be honest with you. It's a lot. It's high maintenance because you have to keep changing. It's literally high maintenance, yeah. So maybe I'll talk about that in a different video, but so far so good. That's basically the end of this video. That's my birthing experience. I'll leave the link to the video here so you guys can watch it out. You guys can check it out. It was amazing. I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Every time I talk about him, I always feel like bringing him in so you guys can see, but I'll bring him in now so you guys can see what he looks like now. He's going to be 2 months old. Okay guys, so that is the end of this video. This is my bundle of joy. This is my baby, my cutie pie. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, make sure you stay fabulous and you stay blessed. Bye guys.